Hey everyone, and welcome to the overview video for the third-person archery system. I'm going to be creating a child actor of the BP Bow Master, and I'm gonna go over them and show you what the different settings do. Now, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to or able to determine the way this is sorted, so I'm gonna have to scroll up and down a little bit. So first we have the general settings. Instant fire. Do you want the bow to instantly fire, or do you want the player to draw? And I'll showcase that difference here. So this is a bow where I can instantly fire. It's always 100 damage. But if I pick up this bow, I'm gonna have to hold left mouse button and then wait for the draw to complete, basically. And if I let go early, there's a chance I'll miss and you won't do as much damage. You can see that here. And that's all set with this one boolean right here. Next one, always aim when equipped. Kind of speaks for itself. So basically what we have right now, as soon as I equip it, I'm aiming. Draw to fire, let me see. Aiming. So now I'm not aiming, I can just walk around. None's happening. But then when I press the right mouse button and start aiming, I can press left mouse button to draw. There you go. So this is instant fire off, and aiming, always aiming, also off. That's the one we just used, so both of these off. Then we have trace projectile, which is visual only. It's just a projectile. There it is, it's here. And yeah, you can just very quickly replace the projectiles you see when shooting, because even if there's a trace, if you shoot a trace instead of a projectile, then there's still a fake projectile, basically just to show the arrow traveling. And here you can select shoot projectile. So what's the difference if you see a projectile for each of them? Well, if you shoot, if you don't shoot a projectile, the target you hit is trace based. So I'm gonna show that off real quick. So now it's gonna do a trace to the center of the screen, to that little ball in the middle, and that's where you'll hit. With a projectile, that's where you want to shoot, basically. So if I let go, a projectile will fire, and it will actually go down a little bit as well, as you can see. So it depends on where the projectile hits. Now if I aim higher, I still hit him. But if I were using the trace one, I would have to specifically aim at this guy if I wanted to hit him. So for projectile, the damage is done by the projectile, and with trace, the damage is basically done by the trace result. Camera effect, you can set that to true. It's something I saw was done for Sparrow in Paragon or something that was included. So I enabled it on this one just to showcase this, because I don't showcase it anywhere. Yeah, let's pick it up. So now if we pick this up and we shoot, you can look at the edges of the screen. There's gonna be this little effect, the golden effect. So that's basically all that this is. Use camera effect. Rain of arrows. Now you can set the cooldown time and if it's allowed or not. If you disable it, so let's go back to that one we just had and let's disable it. Whoa. So if we disable it, you can see the UI also disappears and updates automatically, because now it's like rain of arrows not active, and if you pick up the other one, the rain of arrows not active text disappears. So T to enable it, you'll get this cool effect and sound, and then when you shoot, rain of arrows will spawn. You'll see a cooldown. It's not very beautifully done, but yeah, you get the point. So now I'm using the one where it's not enabled, but it was enabled. So next, that covers all the more general settings. That covers the rain of arrow settings. Trace projectile speed multiplier. That's hopefully going to be in general settings once you get it, but that basically means how fast should the projectile move when you're shooting a trace. Quiver. You can hide the quiver, and you can enable or disable grab arrow from quiver, and I'm going to show what I mean by that. So look at this. If I shoot, you see he grabs an arrow from his quiver. Now I'm not really an animator myself, in case you can't tell. So it's a bit of a meh motion. So you can turn it off. So I'll do that for now. To grab the bow, aim, and then when I shoot, it will just go back and get ready to shoot again, instead of grabbing a new arrow. You can also disable the quiver completely. It can still keep track of your arrows, but you know, it's something somebody requested, so I added it, but you don't have to use it. And here you have the grab arrow animation. So I'll grab a new one. You'll grab a new one. Something to keep in mind for this though is that well, another feature I'm supposed to say is that if you run out of arrows, you will see, I think for about the last 6 arrows in the quiver, if you're 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, every time you go a number lower, you'll see an arrow disappear in the quiver until you reach one more arrow, and as soon as that's in your hand, it will not. You'll see your quiver is empty, so there's some visual feedback there. It's just not just sitting there on your back, it's actually updated. So that covers the quiver. Aim assist. So if I switch to a controller, we need the one where we have to aim ourselves. That's this one. Okay, so if I switch to controller, keep an eye on the UI by the way, and you can see the UI changes to the controller. And then when I aim, oh, sorry. When I start drawing, like it's supposed to. When I start drawing, it will actually lock onto the target for a bit. And this is not something that will happen with the mouse and keyboard, because now when I switch back to mouse and keyboard, you can see. Oh, sorry. I can't switch back to mouse and keyboard anymore because I disabled that in the. Because I needed a screenshot of the UI with the PlayStation controllers enabled, but then I kept switching back because I used PC input basically to take a screenshot, and then it would change it back. So now I can't change it back anymore. But basically, if you have a controller, it will aim, or it will there's a aim assist in place, and you can change the play rate. So if you make this value bigger, then it will last for a shorter amount of time, because by default it's pretty long. Rendering is not relevant. Here you can change the particle and shoot sounds. UI, you can go for circle UI or the bars. The bars are by default. That's what this is. I don't know if you saw the circular AI. There we go. It's just a UI. I don't know if I said AI or UI, but yeah, it's just a different UI you can use. Show static mesh obstacles. Now that's in case you're shooting with projectiles. Oh, that's not a projectile. This one is. Apologies. So now if I aim, and you can see that little red cross on the wall. That's basically that's the game showing an obstacle. So it knows that I'm actually aiming at this other block. I'm aiming at this one, but it also sees that this one is in the way. So we'll actually place that marker there, and it's like, oh hey, if you're going to shoot now, you're probably going to hit this wall. It's going to be more accurate in a later in an update I'm working on, because I noticed it sometimes it still hits, and now it hits the wall. But if you can break it. So I'm going to release an update where it's more accurate. But yeah, it helps with showing static mesh obstacles. And right now it only works on static meshes, so it doesn't work on everything. It won't work on these things, for example. Oh, I just triggered the AI. Oopsie. So yeah, these guys just spawned. You can see the spawner. It just disappeared. I guess I'll look at that now. You can see the AI spawner included here. There's just a spawner struct. These are the waves. You can spawn multiple waves of enemies. And then when they're done spawning, the spawner will actually destroy itself and clean up after itself. And this one uses an overlap to activate, and it overlaps here, and I just stood on that. Oops. So okay, that covers UI. Then we have the impact particles and impact sounds. Now for now, all the impact sounds are the same, because I don't really, I'm not an audio guy. I don't have a ton of audio that I can use for this project, but you can set up the different sound effects in here, and it uses physics material. So I'll just run over there real quick. So here you can see the different physics materials: blood, concrete, dirt, water, and I think that might be dirt or wood. So yeah, you can very easily override the effects and the sounds with some decent ones. And then we have firing status: damage min, damage max. So if you're drawing, what if you start drawing and you let go immediately? The damage will be around 10. Damage max is what it will be when you're fully drawn. Shooting distance, min max, that's nice for traces. Trace spread, so that's the spread you see on the UI, and it actually scales together with your spread. So the UI is not just an animation, but it's calculated based on trace, spread, and min max. So if we were to change these values, so if the minimum was 1 and the maximum was 4, then you would see that in the UI immediately. There's no need for you to go over that and make any changes. Start location offset for the arrow, basically how far from the spawn point should it actually spawn. Trace radius, so we do a trace with a certain radius, and that's 5 by default. And arrow rain damage, I probably moved that up to rain of arrow settings. So, post-process. By default you have the aim post-process and the draw post-process. Those are both the same post-process effect. Let me just go back to the defaults, and you can enable them or disable them for aiming or drawing. And there's an aim post-process material, which you can see here. So it's just inspired by Shadow of War, and did it with the help of two YouTube tutorials actually, because I'm not much of a shader artist or post-process shader artist myself. So I actually combined two, and they're credited in the materials if you want to know more about them. That's this. You can turn that on here for if you aim, then that will happen. Allow sprint override. What that does is that if you're aiming and you want to allow people to still sprint, you can click that boolean. It's especially useful if you're using the always aim when equipped. So that's pretty chill. And walk speed divider. So walk speed I want you to just take care of in your character, and then this just divides it. So the speed you can walk at is just a divided number. Don't use arrows basically means unlimited arrows. So if you turn that on, the UI of the 500 out of 500 will be disabled as well. Max arrows speaks for itself. Camera aim subtraction arm length. So if you start aiming, how much should the arm length change on the player character? How much closer should the camera come? Subtraction FOV for draw, so the FOV changes when you draw the arrow, and how much do you want it to change? How much should we subtract from the current number? So once again, you determine the value in the player character, and the bow only adjusts it. It's not overriding it with a new value. And then the play rate of the draw changes, and then the shoot camera changes play rate. Aim changes camera arm length. So if you aim, does that actually shoot you update the camera arm length? You can turn that off, so then this doesn't affect anymore. And you can also turn off the FOV changes for drawing. So slow motion, you can enable slow motion when aiming. Slow motion, always use slow motion when aiming. If this is false, it will only work when you jump, so when you're in the air. And start aim slow motion play rate. So how long should the slow motion last? What's the slow motion that time dilation you want to use, and do you want to use it on draw instead of aim? So yeah, those are the settings in a nutshell. Those should allow you to create a very to create a decent bow in the style that you like it for your game, with the settings you want, without without the need for you to jump into any blueprints. Now I hope this was insightful and that you got the info that you wanted out of this video. If you have any questions, please post them below. Try out the demo for yourself. There's a download link in the video description or on the store page. And yeah, thanks for checking it out. Good luck with your project.